What's up, YouTube? We're back for another week's episode of Three Simple Men Making Their Way Through the Galaxy. It's Tom, Ryan, and Mike. And we are back in the Acolyte, episode 7, title choice. I just gotta say this, after everything we've seen so far, my immediate reaction watching this episode, there's a lot of people to blame on both sides. Like, this is just, for the witches, it was more of you messed around and now you found out. And for the Jedi, legit, they didn't act like Jedi.
Yeah, it's a lot of people messing up. I mean, Mother Coral definitely like wanting violence right off the bat. Um, Torben clearly being selfish and wanting to just get back to Coruscant. Uh, Soul wanting, you
Osha
know,
to be a Padawan.
yeah, I mean, basically ignoring the fact that it is attachments or something that he's dealing with, whether he admits it or not. Yeah, nothing goes right. And yeah, everybody loses.
Like right off the bat, it was just like we seen in the previous episode, one of the previous episodes, they're like, what if the Jedi discover how they were created? Well, now that kind of throws a wrench into the what they've done because they test their blood. They're just like, wait a minute. Even twins, I forgot what it was, but it's like it should be different. This is
They had different studios as Torben described it, and it was like, this is the proof. We need to just this is our ticket out of Coruscant or ticket back to Coruscant. And yeah, unfortunately we see everything go wrong, and unfortunately Indara, like, she's one that goes by the book, wants to report back on the council, but now it's like, well, we got to tell the council the truth, and unfortunately we know that the truth from the Jedi's point of view of what happened, right? And almost in a way comes to full circle as to why May is going after the four Jedi.
Yeah, May knows the truth. She knows that she didn't start a fire. I mean, she did start a fire, but we learned not on purpose. That was accidental. And it wasn't the fire. The fire didn't kill anyone. It was the Jedi. And then they covered it up. So, they thought good intentions. They were covering it up to protect Osha, but really,
Protect themselves.
it,
Yeah.
it, it's pretty much when you mess up, just cover it up. Just bury it deep down inside. And then we saw in reality was out of all of them, the only one that had remorse was Torben. When
no.
he did,
Soul. I think Soul. Soul wanted to admit everything to the council. He felt terrible. That's why he wouldn't fight Coral, right? He realized what he did. He felt immediate. I think the stabbing of the ghost shadow monster, whatever you want to call it, was instinctual. He thought he was protecting, it was a split second decision. He immediately regretted it. And that's why he refused to fight her. Like, he didn't draw his lightsaber on her. He was just like, hold on, we need to de-escalate. And
And
then
he
he
didn't
wanted to
realize
admit everything.
that was May either, because like once he saw the tattoo, it was like,
Yeah.
oh crap. But yeah, I think one of the things she said right before she died, and Ryan, I don't know if this is your quote of the night, she made it a point to say, someday those noble intentions you have will destroy every Jedi in the galaxy. So it's like a omen, unfortunately, of what we see down the road. But yeah, just unfortunately, they let attachments and emotions get the better of them, and we just see how much of a mess they made that night.
Yeah. And so my quote actually is the one that we've been hearing throughout this entire series, but I feel like it makes a lot more sense now. And this episode starts off with it again. The "you're with me, I'm with you, always one, born as two." So it's the little nursery rhyme that Osha and May say to each other. But now it makes a whole lot more sense that, always one, born as two. So clearly they're, you know, conceived of the Force, right? We've heard of this, or we will hear about this No, sorry, we heard about this in when we watched Phantom, right? With regards to Anakin, as like, there was no father, he just kind of became, and that's seems to be some sort of, you know, witchcraft, if you'd call it, with this virgins, uh, split these, this one personality into.
If you dive into some of this, it's like this is witchcraft. With the Acolyte, it's witchcraft. For Anakin and the Phantom Menace, this was more of like if you look into it and like I know it's
Biblical terms.
yeah,
Immaculate conception. Is
yeah.
that what you're getting at?
It well that and also it's more of like a way of in like legends and stuff like that, like Plagueis, he kind of feared uh Anakin because this was the Force's way of saying like you've manipulated cheat and death, so I'm going to create life, and then he just feared that. I mean, if you want to get into that, uh, I gotta say, what's more dangerous than a Wookiee with a lightsaber? Wookiee with a lightsaber that is mind controlled by
Yeah.
witchcraft.
I mean, I know it's Chewbacca, but gotta rep a Wookiee right now after that episode. I mean, I love that part. I will say, all the hate and everything of the Acolyte, whether it's the story, whether it's the writing, whether it's some of the characters, I, I gotta give it an A+ when it comes to these fight scenes. I mean, some of these fight scenes are just
You see Torben
great.
with his lightsaber, you see him doing those moves. I'm like, seeing some twirls. When have we seen that before? Anakin episode 2 in the
Yeah.
Droid Factory and Geonosis. Just nice little.
Yeah, spinning. That's a good trick.
But it's fun, and I do promise, Tom, there's some more exciting lightsaber fighting to come when we wrap this up. But no, that's something I've thoroughly enjoyed. I've enjoyed the kind of the more hand-to-hand combat aspects that have been added to this fighting style. It's not all just the lightsaber. And then the use of the force during the fights. It's fun. It seems more martial artsy, um, but in a good way. Um, Very enjoyable.
Yeah, so we get to see how Torben got the scar from the fight with Kelnaka. But yeah, it's just interesting, like you said, Ryan, just had to see like the way Soul disarming Kelnaka, just meleeing him and like trying to melee him just to get him out of his
Yeah, he
mind.
didn't want to kill him. I mean, it's his buddy.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting too, looking back now at this fight, or seeing this how this all went down, and then learning like what the downfalls were of the Jedi, like when they got killed, right? I mean, Indira dies trying to, because she's saving um the bartender, right? And with a little cockiness, right? Her hubris kind of brings her down. And I think in this we show that she is kind of, she even talks down to Soul. She's like, "Well, that's why I have a Padawan and you don't." Like she seems like she is a little full of herself. And then very quickly after, the whole time being like, we have to listen to the council, we have to listen to the council, very quickly decides we have to cover this up to protect Osha. So I think that kind of shows like how her downfall is that she, does, whether she admits it or not, has connections, she does want to protect those that need protection. Then you have Torben, who now I think, clearly understand why he goes into this. I forget what it was called, but his locks himself in his own mind in that meditation for 16 years. His brain was taken over. He's terrified, like, and that's why he learns that discipline to, take that vow of as like a monk or whatever. So I think it's kind of cool that we see that. And like you said, Tom, I don't think we see it now, but we definitely see it when he comes to guilt, and think about it. He spent the entire time with his own mind. That's when guilt kind of comes and sneaks in and will ravage your mind is when you're alone in your own thoughts. That's when guilt kind of creeps in. So he spends that entire time with his own thoughts. Of course, all he's going to do is become guilty. And then as soon as he wakes up, he's like, "I've been waiting for you." And willingly kills himself. So I think that was interesting. And then Kanaka, isolating himself. I think it shows that he realized that he not only got his mind taken over, but he became a weapon and was a
And he,
danger to his friends. So of course he's
Okay,
going to be
like
like, I need to stay away from the other Jedi. I don't want to hurt them. So I think that kind of shows how this one scene.
yeah, I was about to say it's like kind of makes sense now because he's like a Wookiee. He's got that whole like honor system thing going on, and it's just more of like now he realizes like, wait, what did I do?
Yeah.
Wait, no, that can't be true. So that's probably gonna explain for the exile of himself. It's pretty much like, listen, there was no honor in what I did. There's
Yeah.
shame, there's guilt. Realistically, it starts off, they've been there for 7 weeks. It's like you can see Torben. It's just more of like his greed really got to the best of him. It's like I think really their greed really for them all. It's more of like, but at the same time, it's like
I think
yeah,
it's connections. I don't think it's greed. I think it is attachment. I think, Torben was attached to Coruscant. He wanted to go back to Coruscant. He didn't want to be there. Uh, Soul became attached to Osha. It just seemed like that was kind of their initial downfall. Um,
yeah, they really strayed really far from the mission because I think for them it was just like, well, why is Brendok driving when you had this
yeah,
hyperspace disaster? Like, I think probably was a cataclysmic event where it should have like eradicated everything on there. But yeah, the grass is green, everything was just natural. And yeah, unfortunately, once Soul saw the twins, that's when yeah everything went downhill and just and Dara advised, we cannot interfere and just let bygones be bygones. But unfortunately, yeah, just emotions and attachments just got the better of everyone, and you see Soul.
wonder what that conversation was between the council and the discovery of the twins.
Mhm.
uh, well, and the other interesting thing to note too, I talked about all the other Jedi Soul, and where we see him in the future, starting off with this series, he this all went wrong because he seemed desperate for a Padawan. He felt a connection with Osha. And then we learn pretty quickly that whatever that relationship was must have failed because Osha didn't become a Jedi and left the Order. So now Soul's thrown himself in. With the series starts off, we meet Soul is a teacher. He's teaching all the younglings. So, it's like it's kind of interesting that they all, you can kind of see how this moment affected all of them in different ways. And I also find it funny that Osha ends up becoming a technic, right? A mechanic. So she ends up being good at like, picking locks, opening doors, things like that. And at this moment, she was locked in a room and couldn't get out. And maybe if she could have stopped her sister or stopped the fire. And maybe she thought that if she knew that, so they all kind of gravitate towards things that, and then obviously we get May, who's just strictly looking for revenge, until she's not, right? Because our previous episode, she decided she didn't want to have anything. It was weird. She was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And then we left off with, technically, I guess we can assume this episode is potentially Soul's point of view, right? It's the way we were left off. Maybe this is just Soul telling the story of what happened to May
Mhm.
because he has her strapped down on that table.
It's gonna be May's subconscious or her visions of what she experienced, possibly.
Maybe. I'm thinking it really is just like what happened, but we are left off right. The end of last episode was him saying, "I've waited a long time to tell you this story. You're gonna listen," something along those lines. So,
Yeah.
and then it goes into this story. Um, yeah, I mean, the fighting's fun. The Coven Witch stuff. It's new. It's different, right? I mean, they mentioned Night Sisters. I don't think are they Night Sisters? I don't think they are. They just kind of fear that they are, but
I think
there's some other
I think
force
they
coming.
concluded because like Indara's like, yeah, Night Sisters don't have younglings, so I think that what convinced them to be, or they were convinced they were witches, but I think there was that initial doubt. Um, and then yeah, and then one other point too, you could just tell with the way the Jedi were testing both May and Osha because they caught on very quickly. Yeah, May was instructed to fail, but then Indara allowed Soul to change up the testing where it was more in her favor, and yeah, she passed the test. It's like, well, no, not really. I mean, you called her out for what it was, but yeah, just definitely yeah, it just goes back to that quote of what they said that your intentions are noble, but will destroy every Jedi in the galaxy.
I mean, timeline wise, is this like the first time we're actually seeing how the Jedi test is concluded? We've seen it in episode 1, but I'm looking at timeline wise. This is like the first time we're
Oh
seeing.
yeah, timeline. This is also the first time we hear them use the word splice. I found that fun. They said splice the gate or whatever, which I don't even know if we've heard the term splice in Star Wars canon or if that was just always a video game term. I
I
don't
thought
know.
it was always spike. Like you have spikes to unlock the door or something like that. Like I'm thinking of Knights of the Republic. It was like, oh,
That's
use
right. I'm confusing the two.
10 spikes to unlock the door or something like that. And you always had to upgrade your uh, security skills, your technical skills,
Yeah.
which I never did, which I'm locked
Well,
out, guys.
You might want to think
well,
about that with your next character.
Ian.
we do with this episode though get a lot of answers. I mean, I feel like now we're only really left with who the heck is this stranger guy? Who is May's master? This dude. Like we don't really get his backstory at all, right? I mean, he's not in this episode, but it's kind of like the one big question mark is like, we see wounds on his back. Uh, I feel like it's implied that maybe they were caused by Venestra's whipping lightsaber. It's not confirmed, but again, the editing and the way that it jumps from seeing the wound to her then using that whipping lightsaber. Um, yeah, we have a lot of questions still. But we kind of got this wrapped up, I guess. I mean, I don't know what the becoming smoke like. I don't know. I mean, Coral became a smoke monster and what took over Kanaka with the help of the Coven, maybe. So then the question is, was the other mother becoming a smoke monster to take over somebody? Was she going to take over Corel to stop the fighting? Was she going to take? I don't know. We just don't really know
Trying to
what
help
happened.
out OSHA, maybe trying to, maybe she was.
Yeah.
I mean,
Get her from the fire. I mean, she did it when they were about to start fighting, so it seemed like it was kind of a hey, like stop.
dude, she was about to pull out a Voldemort. Just black dust, just disappear.
But yeah, for the most part, I think, we got the answers. We understand the cover up and everything and what was going on there. And now the question is just, what's going to happen? Are they going to go to the council and that Soul going to explain everything? I mean, he wants to save OSHA still. He doesn't know where she is. Maybe May does. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens next episode.
And you see that conversation too. It's pretty much like, I'm gonna tell the council what happened. It was like, do you really want to do that now? Because if you do that, you were so attached to saving this girl. You're just gonna throw it in your hands at the mercy of the council. What if they just expel you? What's gonna happen to her?
Yeah.
It's like, you wanted this, so you might as well fake it till you make it, lie till you die, just bury it 6 feet deep and just move on.
Yeah, I think wasn't it last episode where they're like starting to get some political implications involved with the Jedi? So like,
Yeah, I mean, we're really learning here about a Jedi. This is our first ever Jedi cover up. Um, Realistically, I mean, they're covering up the fact that this happened, that this mission went wrong. I mean, they're keeping it from the council and stuff, so it's not like a full Jedi cover up, but it's not great. And I think it shows a different side of the Jedi that we've never seen, and I think it adds a little bit to our stranger's thought process of why he might come to hate. Certainly why May doesn't like them and sees like, oh, you're Jedi, you go around, you think you're the gold standard and you're great, but you're faulty too. Like, you've done bad, you've done evil, like, and you're not being held responsible. So they're gonna hold him responsible.
Yeah,
See,
no, I mean,
he who has not sinned cast the first stone.
yeah, I know like Indara said that like, they don't really like draw their weapons to kill anyone, but I mean, she did use the Force to kill an entire group of witches to
Yeah.
get them
Yeah,
out.
that was pretty crazy. I don't know if that was accidental. I'm assuming she didn't. I think she was just severing the mind, and then maybe while doing that, they died. I don't think she necessarily knew she was killing all of them.
I think she just left them unconscious, for temporarily, just to sever the tie between.
Yeah, I think they all died. The way Soul's reaction when he kind of came into the room, I don't think they died in the fire. I think they all died from that severing of the connection.
Yeah.
Maybe? I don't know.
I mean, there was an explosion, but I just don't think it was far out enough where it could have killed them because I think they were like right next to like the power generator or whatever, or at that bridge. And then, yeah, unfortunately, you see that Soul made the choice. He couldn't save them both, so he saved Osha over May.
Yeah.
That doesn't help. And again, you can't blame May for wanting revenge. It's like, hey, Soul didn't save me.
And he killed my mom because she knows that that's what happened. She saw it. So,
yeah, so I guess we'll see. Now that we know the full picture, I guess we'll see what's going to happen now. I guess we'll really see the complete circle. I mean, to your point, Ryan, we'll see Strange. Hopefully, get more info about the stranger and just
yeah.
what happened.
And I will say, next week's episode, final episode of the Acolyte, and then we get to hop on back over to Attack of the Clones, which I gotta say, been out of it for a little bit. I'm missing it again. I'm ready to get back into it. So
Yeah, I will say this about going back into the Clone Wars. I am. It's gonna be a while, but I'm excited about my favorite season. It's season 4 because if you know, you know.
Yeah.
And somebody wants to say hi. Say hi, Cosmo.
Cosmo.
Cosmo. But yeah, so we got a whole lot more Star Wars ahead of us, and with that, I guess we'll throw it to Mike.
All right, that's a wrap. Thank you, everyone, for joining Three Simple Men, making their way through the galaxy. Hit that like, comment, subscribe, and come back next week for the season finale of the Acolyte. May the Force be with you, always.
We'll let the dogs out.